Alright, hey guys, today we're going to talk about something called simple interest, and maybe you've had financial literacy and you've done a couple things with it, so this won't be too difficult. If you haven't, we'll just kind of talk about it a little bit. So first thing, there's something called interest. Now, interest is an amount of money that you earn or pay. Okay, so again, if you should be taking notes on this. It's amount of money that you either earn or that you pay, okay? Now, sometimes that you would earn interest are if you put money in a bank account, let's say in a savings account, you earn some interest because you're letting the bank borrow your money for that amount of time while it's in the bank. So the bank is going to pay you a little bit of interest. So you're going to earn some money on the money you already put in the bank. So just for putting it in the bank, you're earning a little bit of money, okay? Now, a time when you might pay interest is if you take a loan. Okay, so when you take a loan, you borrow money from the bank or from some other place, and they're going to charge you a percent for letting you borrow the money. So then you're going to have to pay some interest. Now, there's two types of interest that we're going to be learning about. One is called simple, and the other is called compound. Okay, now today I'm just going to kind of talk about simple interest. And then we'll go into compound interest tomorrow. Okay, so first thing that you need to know, there's a formula for simple interest, and it looks like this. So you might want to write this down, the simple interest formula. All right, it looks like this. It's called I equals PRT. So basically it's an equation that you use to find simple interest. All right, so we're going to write what all these letters stand for. So the I stands for the amount of interest you earn or that you pay. Okay, so that's the interest. So the amount of money that you earn or have to pay. The P stands for principal. Okay, so you might want to write that down. The P stands for principal, and that's the amount of money that you either start with or the amount of money that you borrow. So it's like the principal amount that you start with or that you borrow. Okay, the R stands for rate. So like the percent that you the percent rate, like maybe the bank charges you 4% interest for a loan. So that would be the rate. Now, it's a percentage, so when you type that in on your calculator, you always need to change it to a decimal. And we'll do an example of that. And then the T stands for time, and something really important about time is it has to be in years. All right, so time has to be in years. Again, so this is the simple interest formula. I equals PRT. Kind of easy to remember. I equals PRT. So this is for simple interest. Okay, now at times when simple interest kind of works like this. Like you just get paid a percent for the whole year. So if you keep your money in the bank for like 2 years, you just get paid like a certain amount. You just get it paid at like once. Okay, so that's simple interest. You don't see simple interest in a lot of places. But it is the easier one to figure out, so I'll show you how this works. So let's say that you borrow, let's say, $2,000, okay? And you're borrowing it from, let's just say, your parents, okay? And they're going to charge you 4% interest, okay? So for letting you borrow that money, they're going to charge you 4% interest, and you know that you're going to borrow it for 2 years. You're going to kind of pay them back in 2 years. So I want to know how much interest you're going to have to pay. Okay, so how much extra money are they really charging you to let you borrow that money? So we can write this formula, I equals PRT. Let's just kind of fill in what we know. We don't know the interest. That's what we're trying to find. So I'm just going to keep that as the I. The principal, how much I borrowed, or how much money, is the $2,000. Okay, now the rate, now when these are right next to each other, when these are right next to each other, it means multiply. So the rate is 4%. Now remember, you have to change that to a decimal. So to change that to a decimal, move it back twice. So it would be 0.04. And then the time is how many years it's been in there, and that's 2. So I'll do it times 2. Okay, so now I can multiply this out. Let's do 2,000 times 0.04 times 2. Okay, and I get my interest is $160. So that means I'm going to have to pay $160 extra to my parents just for letting me borrow that money. Okay, so I borrowed $2,000 plus I'm going to have to pay them that extra $160. So really, when I pay them back, I have to pay them $2,160. But the interest I paid was just $160. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, let's say that this time you're going to put, we'll just say you're borrowing money from your parents again, and let's say this time you borrow $200, and this time they're going to charge you 6% interest. They're going to raise it a little bit, but you're only borrowing it this time for 6 months. Okay, so you're just borrowing it for 6 months this time. So you want to know, well, how much interest are you going to have to pay? You want to know how much extra are you going to have to pay them back besides that $200. Okay, so we're going to use our formula. I equals PRT. Okay, again, I don't know my interest, so I'll put the I. Principal, that's the amount of money I borrowed, so that's 200 times my rate is 6%. I'm going to move it back twice, so it'll be 0.06. And then my time, now if you guys remember, time has to be in years. This is in months, so how do I figure out what that is in years? Just think about that for a sec. Well, think 6 months out of 12 months. How much of a year is that? Well, that's half a year, so I can actually type that in as 0.5 or a half. So I'm just going to put 0.5 because it's half a year. Okay, so now I can times that out. 200 times 0.06 times 0.5. And I get, my interest is only $6. So I'd have to pay my parents back $200 plus that 6, so really I'm borrowing 206. Or I'm borrowing 200, but I got to pay an extra $6. Okay, so that's kind of simple interest. All right, so that's kind of how you find simple interest. It's not too difficult. I should mention too, this formula, I equals PRT. The time is usually in years. That's what you usually see it. You can specify different amounts. So maybe the bank or your parents are going to say, well, I'm going to do it monthly. So maybe they charge by the month. Okay, in general, it's by years. So you always want to change it to years. But they could specify something different and say, well, the periods are going to be, or the time is going to be per month that I do the simple interest or whatever. So you could do something like that too, but in general, we're just going to do years. Okay, so now that you watched that video, you need to fill in the form that I sent you. Complete those couple of problems. Okay, so you'll need to complete the form, answer those questions, bring your notes to class tomorrow, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about interest. And then I do want you to research one little thing, one of your questions on the form. I want you to research, what is compound interest? All right, I want you to see if you can kind of figure out